Hello, Aquarius. This is your 2018 in-depth horoscope with me, Lada from Astrolada.com. And Marina is here. Hi, Marina.
Hi, Lada. It's great to make these horoscopes again.
Yes, we did them last year and there was lots of interest. So we're doing them again. 2 insights, guys, you'll hear. We'll fill up on each other's knowledge. And this year will be so happening for Aquarius. I mean, Aquarius is getting activated on all the important angles like family, career, personal life, relationships. I mean, the angles, the pivots of your life, guys, it's big changes. You know, usually I would say that 2018 will mostly activate the earth and water people, you know, but Aquarius is one of the exceptions because there's so much activity going in fixed signs. So we're going to tell you what's happening. Prepare for it. But just before I start quickly, I want to announce that the 2018 astrology calendar is ready. It's an e-book, which is 122 pages long with all the important transits, what they mean, what they're good for, what to avoid, day by day breakdown of the year with the planets changing signs, with the new moons, full moons. Plus there is another calendar that Marina has prepared for us where you will not find anywhere this information about the heliacal phases of the planets when a planet is visible and invisible. This is ancient knowledge that comes from Babylonian astrology. This was used how the astrology of the kings would use this astrology, and it's extremely correct. And when a planet is invisible, you cannot manifest matters connected to it. Maybe you can research, maybe you can prepare. But for example, if Venus is invisible, partnership relationships are not the most auspicious. They don't happen. And she has for each planet, when it's visible, when it's not visible, what is best to do and what is not best to do. Plus, Marina, plus you get it for 30% off if you order till the middle of December. After that, it's $30. Before that, it's $20. Plus, Marina is doing on the 10th of December a webinar on heliacal phases in your own personal horoscope. Every person also goes through their own visible and invisible planets, totally determined by their own horoscope. And she gives you a free breakdown of the next 5 years and calculations of when planets are visible and invisible in your personal horoscope. For example, after maybe 5 years, Venus invisible, it might become visible next year. So you can finally meet someone, get married. Otherwise, it's just in your head. It's not visible relationships. Or after 10 years of great financial success, the ruler of your second house might become invisible. So money, you just have to live on savings, you know. So everything, she would explain what it means for you, but you get them free calculations for 5 years. It's only $60, I think, and it's very personal. It's this information is not out there. It's recently rediscovered, and it's proving to be one of the most powerful ways to predict and the most correct ways to predict your life. So even if you don't make it on the 10th of December, you can order it a year from now, and Marina will still send you the calculations and the recording of the video. So thank you so much, Aquarius, for allowing me to say that and for waiting through that. This is our job. We have to announce what we're doing. And now I'm your fellow Aquarian ascendant. This is for anyone who has their ascendant, sun, or moon in Aquarius. The ascendant is always very important, so do check it if you have time, if you know your time of birth. So how will 2018 be, Marina?
Well, for Aquarius, there should be many changes because we have the two rulers of this sign changing their sign position. You know that Aquarius is considered to be, you know, the ruler now, but the old ruler is Saturn, and it is definitely influencing Aquarius. So both of these planets are changing their sign position. So this should bring, you know, big shift of the focus of the energy and some personal changes. Plus, we have also Mars and Venus both going retrograde, and we have Jupiter changing sign. So there's
in the important life areas.
Yeah, even the nodes are affecting the cardinal houses. So yeah, there should be some significant personal changes for Aquarius. And we can start with Saturn because this is the first planet which will change the sign position. Actually, on even from December this year, on the 20th, Saturn will enter Capricorn. And this is the 12th house for Aquarius. So yeah, 12th house and Saturn, they look like, you know, they're quite different, because Saturn is about material stuff and visible things and, you know, stable and practical things. On the other hand, 12th house is about the invisible. It's about our unconscious mind and inspiration and dreams. So it looks like there is not much in common between this sign and actually this house and planet. But on the other hand, this can be used for time actually to put the end of certain activities that you have previously started. This is the ending phase of this actually 30-year period for all. Yes.
Big conclusion of karma, big conclusion of many things in your life. Or completion, it doesn't necessarily mean it's like you lose everything. I mean, you complete everything and you move on, and you're like detached from that.
No, we are not talking about losses, but this is the time when you shouldn't be afraid to stay alone. You shouldn't resist on that, and even you can do it on your own, like, you know, spend some time. It could be doing your own stuff, or if you have interest in the spiritual area, then this is a great transit which can help you actually to go more in depth, to focus more on this, and actually to be more strict, for example, about these routines and practices. And this is the time when you should focus more on your private life.
Mm-hmm.
And
self-imposed imprisonment, and there is an element of personal will there, because Saturn rules Aquarius, one of the planets. So that's great if you're working on something, researching, deep study, whatever. You'd want to isolate yourself, to be in rumination, to be in deep thought, you know. Maybe you're writing a book or something like that. But for some people, unfortunately, Saturn can force you to be more isolated just due to circumstances. Like someone might have to study very hard for a few years and doesn't have time to socialize. There's a bit of loneliness there, and it's good when it happens voluntarily. And often, because Saturn is predictable influence, it's kind of something that you kind of foresee it, you know. It doesn't shock you that you'll be a bit more isolated.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that, of course, we're going to talk about Jupiter, and Jupiter will give a great support to Saturn. But generally, Aquarius shouldn't force themselves too much to be active in the outer world. Yeah, maybe about career, we are going to discuss that. But generally, you know, you should give yourself some kind of rest. I think that this is, you know, the time when you need to make some kind of retrospection of your life.
Yeah.
And to evaluate things, maybe to define some new goals, maybe to end up, you know, some things which needs to be cut or something. And after that, of course, the new period will come, but this is the ending phase of this period. And you shouldn't resist on that. Yeah. For some people, you know, that 12th house is related with immigration. So it's possible that this topic can be very important. It could be, as you said, a personal decision, because this is the ruler of the sign, but usually it's not easy. When you do something under the influence of Saturn, you may feel really lonely, and things might be a little bit more difficult for you. So people who would like to relocate, yes, you can do that, especially if it's about your work, you have, you know, some kind of obligations, but keep in mind that this might be a more difficult adaptation, I think.
It might be forced by circumstances, and there's a lot of endings that happen. People say, maybe you won't feel it immediately 2018, but you have till 2020. Saturn is in your 12th house, and like people say, when Saturn transits their 12th house, there is a lot of completions, conclusions, voluntary or involuntary endings, and dissolution of old material circumstances. And also dissolution and letting go of old ways of being and old patterns. Because Saturn is the planet that rules you in the 12th house of self-undoing or dissolving. Don't resist this process. You know, certain things need to leave your life. There might be habits, there might be ways of thinking, there might be people, there might be circumstances, material things. Allow them to go, because the more you resist the 12th house, the more circumstances become out of your control, because the 12th house is about powers beyond you. The invisible world. They're almost like put in action, they're karmic things that are happening. 12th house is the house of past life karma, and Saturn is the planet of consequences. So it's almost like you're reaping consequences, and they might be great consequences for efforts and things that you've been doing over the years before, and they might be great conclusions, completions that exhaust the desire towards that direction, so you feel like, yes, you're completing something. But they might, unfortunately, there are some actions that are not so savory we've done, that we might be seeing the results of, and that we might, for example, you've been abusing your body for years, and Saturn enters the 12th house, and kind of you can see the results of those actions, for example, by getting hospitalized or by feeling weakened and less energized. So it might be something else, something like hidden enemies as well, that there might be some resistance there with hidden enemies. And often Saturn is about trying to resist the dissolving of the material, but it is happening no matter what. So you have to open your mind and go with the flow, as they say. As I said, a lot of the events will be karmic. They would have been set in motion years before, or you just see the results now, positive or negative. And it's a bit hard to set new sail. It's almost impossible, to be honest. And things to happen according to your plans. Things will happen according to what foundations you've built earlier, and they're showing you results now. You know.
Yeah, and in some way, people need to release the control. Saturn is about control, but when we talk about 12th house, you know, there is a higher power which is influencing the circumstances, you know, the situation. So you shouldn't try to keep everything under control. And yeah, as you said, maybe go with the flow is the better strategy.
And then actually it can be a great time to take a break and to some careers dissolved, some old habits, negative, and of course a lot of circumstances from your life will no longer be the same, will start dissolving. You feel like you're losing your ego or your identity, but it's because you're being prepared for a grand new start when Saturn enters your sign from 2020. So, you know, accept it as a good thing, you know, and accept it as a break of a sort.
Yeah, and I think also this is a great period for inner work, you know, to do something on your own and to work and to actually to develop some personal qualities. So not things that are visible for others, not something that will bring you immediate results or, you know, will be visible as something you have created, but more to work on an inner level. And of course, after that, everything pays off, especially when Saturn enters your first house. This will be the time when actually you will see the results, in reality. But until then, there is a reason for these processes and, you know, parts of our life where we are isolated. I think that, you know, they don't happen without a reason. The main idea is not for us to, you know, go through some kind of pain. We need to use that time for personal growth. And after that, everything comes, you know, easier.
Yes, so take out your yoga mats and meditation mats and your prayer.
Oh, yeah.
No, but, you know, you can also be connected to a lot of foreign, something in foreign countries. That's also isolation, because you're isolated from a normal environment. Or people that work in hospitals, people that work in prisons, that actually extra more responsibility, because 12th house rules all isolated environments. You know, I've seen people go work on an island. I've seen people relocate, like Mimi says, in different countries. You know, I've seen people that if you work in hospitals, libraries, laboratories, places of research where you're more kind of isolated, it's actually quite, you get a lot of responsibilities. There may be even some position of authority. If you work in the spiritual world as well, your responsibilities might increase as a spirit guide or guide to others to the invisible realms. And 12th house is also great if you're doing some research when Saturn transits there, because you're much more focused, concentrated. And it's good to be disciplined, because Saturn is in Capricorn, its own sign of discipline, in regards to certain self-undoing habits, I would say. Because 12th house is about things that, you know, like drinking and, you know, anything that undermines you and addictive behaviors that you try to escape reality through. Saturn will give you more structure and organization, hopefully there to have more control over it, hopefully, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and be careful not to enter prison. I'm kidding.
Yeah, sometimes it could happen. Okay, the other news is much more positive, and we are talking about Jupiter, which will actually, Jupiter is already in Scorpio and it will stay there until November 2018. And this is the 10th house for Aquarius. So even if you're spending a lot of time on your own, on personal stuff, the career will be very important for you, the area of your career and social realization. So you shouldn't give up on everything. And things may happen actually in a very positive way for you without putting so much efforts, without working so hard. You know that Jupiter is the planet of abundance and growth and lucky opportunities. So that's actually a great time for your career growth. If you have your own business, then you know, you can expand it even more. If you work for someone else, a great time to be promoted, to start something new, to be actually to have more confidence about the projects that you would like to start. It doesn't matter if it's your personal activities or you're working for somebody else. And yeah, generally communication with authority figures, even with your father or with you know, with your parents can improve. And this type of results, they are visible for other people. So whatever you do in your career, the results will be visible for others, which is great actually. And if you need more confidence, then Jupiter will support you to start these new projects, to be more initiative, to, you know, especially for people who are working in the area of finances or something like that, the bank sector, because Scorpio is a sign which is related with that. They can really benefit. Or people like you, for example, in the spiritual area, or, you know, people who are working in something which is kind of, you know, researching serious deep science, then they can also benefit very much from this transit.
Absolutely. Wow. At the same time, you're working intensely on your inner work, Saturn in the 12th house. You're able to manifest this year on the material, on the outer public area as well, by expanding your reputation, by growing your reputation, by finding also clarity. Jupiter is a planet of knowledge and clarity about, in regards something to do with your career. Plus, it's a good time for anything to do with any institutions, government organizations, to approach them or to receive something from them, because Jupiter is this generous, abundant planet. And yes, of course, there might be more isolation, but maybe that's exactly what helps you with the career achievements as well. Yeah, and I forgot Saturn in the 12th house. Have you noticed hidden enemies? Have you noticed that such things escalate or something like that?
Oh, well, usually it's very difficult to talk about the hidden enemies, because usually they remain, so actually this topic is very specific. And
well, to be honest, when Saturn transited my 12th house cusp, exactly, it happened actually before Saturn entered the Capricorn. Something happened that I found out a lot of secrets, because Saturn is about something crystallizing, and I was a bit shocked that something behind my back. So that's
some things can be revealed, actually. Things can be revealed. So
anyway. So Jupiter is in the 10th house, sorry.
Jupiter, and this is great that actually Saturn and Jupiter are making sextiles, so they're supporting each other, which should bring even more positive opportunities for your career. So you may spend more time alone, and, you know, you might be more isolated, but your career will be important in some way. So don't give up on that. And actually, after November, on the 7th of November, Jupiter will enter Sagittarius in your 11th house. And this is the sign of which Jupiter rules. So this is a very strong position. And it will be very positive, actually, for your communication with other people, for some kind of groups. I would say that maybe this can really be a connection through the internet, or, you know, some kind of community, because you may still be isolated because of this Saturn in your 12th house, but in some way,
together,
in some way you're connecting with others. Very specific combination, but I think that it will improve a little bit, you know, the way how Aquarius are going to feel. And their contacts will be renewed, and there will be more opportunities actually to connect with other people. people who have some kind of, you know, important cause and they are fighting for that, they can be actually really passionate about it. And they may achieve success for politicians or people who work in this area. Also, 11th house.
Yeah, in the
about
connect to lots of people.
Yeah, media, especially something like the television. So if you're working in this area, you may also benefit very much from this transit. You can receive support from your friends. You can meet with people who are, you know, respected, who have their own ways actually to help you in a material way or in some other way to support your ideas.
Yeah, they got like benefactors, someone who really takes you under their wing, the benefactor, trusts in you. So, but it seems like there's still isolation, but those things, it's kind of, this Jupiter in the 11th house comes to break a little bit the pattern. Maybe
yes, exactly.
Level where always with friends and stuff, maybe it's you're working towards some goal and those people help you somehow, connecting with them, and you still need to spend time alone. But thank you, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I think that it will be a relief for Aquarius. Okay, so the next transit, which is again very important. So we have Mars and Venus both going retrograde, and this is actually very important because Mars goes retrograde only once in 2 years. And this time it will be retrograde in Aquarius. For a while it returns back to Capricorn, but most of the time it will be in Aquarius. So that's very important for you guys. So let me see. The transit starts on the 26th of June and will continue until the 28th of August. And of course, this is your own sign. Mars will be stationary on the 10th degree in Aquarius, then goes back. Yeah, that's okay. The 10th degree.
Yeah, it goes back. So it's like Aquarians that are born the first 10 days, like say from the 20th of January.
February. Yeah,
yes,
January.
Yeah. No, the 20th of January to the beginning of February. Plus, if you have a sun and moon in the first 10 degrees, this Mars retrograde. And for all the others, they'll feel it to a lesser degree a little bit. But wow, it's a huge thing, guys. Mars retrograde in your sign.
Yeah, especially if it's on around the 10th degree, because actually Mars will be stationary, very close to your sun or ascendant. You're definitely going to feel the influence. And generally, we are speaking that when Mars is retrograde, this is not the best time for starting some new initiatives, which are really important for you. When it is in your first house, basically, it's about everything that you would like to do on your own. For example, it could be about business because Mars is a competitive planet, which is related with starting new things. So not the best time for you guys, especially actually until the 14th of August when Mars is actually in Aquarius. This is not a favorable time for starting new business initiatives, anything that includes some kind of personal risk. Competition, for example, if you're practicing some kind of sport, it's also not a favorable position. You have to be on the negative side. You need to be more careful with possible traumas or, you know, some kind of accident. Usually it's not about something really, you know, long lasting or really serious, but however, you need to be careful with that.
Even little surgeries can happen. I had a friend who had Mars retrograde on her ascendant, and there was a surgery that happened. It was planned from before, but yeah, Mars is this invasive instrument.
Yes.
The physical sun and moon are connected to the physical body, and more fight. You can argue more. It's just fighting about something. Some fight from before it's coming, but it might be that you're like reasserting yourself, trying to something that's been bothering you. Because Aquarius is not a sign that wants confrontation much. But now with Mars on the ascendant, you're becoming assertive. You might have to fight for something. And of course, be wise, because while Mars is retrograde, it's not good for you to start those wars. But if you're being attacked in some way, defend yourself and be strategic about your actions. You know, plan more, prepare more, research more. And I think that also it might be very much connected on working something in regards to their career, because Mars rules the 10th house as Scorpio, you know. So it might be like redoing some project or working hard, like putting a lot of energy into fixing something in regards to their career or some some project that they're having to complete, for example, or improve in some way. But that's putting a bit of pressure and stress on them as well at the same time.
Yeah, people may just feel more nervous, more impatient. You know, their decisions might be not so rational. So yeah, just try to be more careful during this time. Sometimes you may confront with others, and actually Uranus will make square with the retrograde Mars, so Uranus is also the ruler of this sign. So we might be really more impulsive, and we may want some immediate results, and if it's not working for you, you may get really frustrated, and you know, it's just a time when you should relax more, in my opinion. And
that's my holiday. That's exactly I'll be fighting with my parents.
Yeah, let's hope not.
Exercising more to remove the frustration.
Yeah, restarting some you know, old routine practices, something like that, actually can be positive. And everything which is in some way connected with the past, you can revision that, you can change something, you can restart something. That's okay, actually that's very good. But just the new initiatives are not so usually successful. Or at least, as usual, you need to be aware of the fact that things will go through some kind of changes after that. So yeah, if that's okay for you, then go for it.
Starting new things after that, they're not going to turn out exactly how you want.
Yeah.
We can change something, you know.
Yeah. And the last 2 weeks of this transit, Mars will be going back to Capricorn in your 12th house. And generally speaking, I don't expect that this will bring some significant events for you. 12th house is not a material house. You know, Capricorn doesn't make major aspect with your own sign. So yeah, maybe if you're isolated, you may feel again more frustrated, something like that. When you're on your own, you may feel restless, like you have to do something and you don't know exactly what to do, something like that is possible.
You have angry dreams. Your anger can...
maybe. Yeah, maybe, but yeah, I don't expect the first part of the transit is more significant for Aquarius than the second.
The material,
yes,
happening,
yeah.
And it might be a period where actually you're coming into your Mars, you're reevaluating how you use your assertiveness, because it's in your first house, how you fight for things, and you're saying, I cannot anymore keep quiet, or I cannot anymore keep confronting with people if you've gone to the other extreme. So it's time, something the universe will show you that something that you might be doing wrong in regards to Mars, which is asserting yourself or fighting for something, or not asserting yourself enough and fighting enough. You might have to step it up, you know, because it's about reevaluating and adjusting how you use Mars energies.
Yeah. Okay, and next we have Venus, which will be retrograde from the 5th of October until the 16th of November. And the first part of this transit will be in Scorpio. Venus is stationary on the 11th degree in Scorpio. So again, if you have a sun or moon, ascendant, another planet close to this degree, you're definitely going to feel very strong the influence of this transit. And Venus in 10th house suggests that you should be more careful with your career. Also, Venus is about, you know, your image. So you have to be careful with your reputation during this time. If there are some kind of secrets, again, they can be revealed. Things are visible when they are in your 10th house. So be more careful about the things that you are doing. Generally, there might be, you know, some kind of lack of harmony in your career. Venus is not Mars, so it's not about some serious conflicts or, you know, really frustrating circumstances, but you know, things may not be as smooth as usual for you. Also, this is when something is retrograde, again, we are talking about the past coming back to us. So you may restart some kind of career project that you previously had, some kind of business idea that you you know, was not successful maybe, or it didn't work very well for you. Restarting these old projects is actually great for you. But starting some new career projects usually is not favorable when Venus is retrograde. Maybe you can plan that, you may change some of your plans, and after Venus goes direct, this will be actually a very positive time.
And
to
people
make that step.
Careers, say for example, entertainment, women luxury goods, food, wine,
beauty, fashion. Yeah.
Beauty, fashion, exactly. They might be working very hard on completing some project, for example, because retrograde is about you have to put more effort. Things kind of you have to re-edit, redo something over. So you might be like doing something, you know, about that in your career. And when Venus starts moving direct, you finally start seeing the results, or you can bring out that project or whatever that you're working on.
Yeah, something like that. But this is the more challenging part. Then Venus will go back to Libra for a few days. So let me see, from the 31st of October until the 16th of November. And this is the 9th house for Aquarius, but this is also trining their own sign. So the influence is not so challenging. It's easier for you. And basically, this is the time to reevaluate your goals, maybe change something in your long-term plans, how you see your future. Something like that is very good actually for you. And 9th house is related with traveling, so be careful if you're planning your trips or, you know, vacation, something like that. Things may not be as you have planned them.
You've been before.
Yeah, you can return to somewhere you have been previously, but you know, again, you can expect some surprises, even in this case, something which is not planned, not necessarily something bad, especially when this is trining your own sign, but very often the past is kind of, you know, calling us in some way. So yeah, think about your goals and change something which is not
maybe something to do with your career that surprise you, that you have to redo about your reputation. So you have to go back maybe to redo something about your goals and expectations from your career, plus in regards to your preparation, your educational preparation for the career. It can play out like that as well.
Yes. Okay, and next we have the lunar nodes. The North Node will be in Leo most of the year, which is your 7th house. And you know that, as we like to say, Jupiter and the North Node have a very similar influence. So it's about gaining something. It's about some kind of benefits, you know, some kind of growth in this area. So definitely you should try to be, you know, to connect more with other people, focus on your relationship. For people who are single, actually, this is a very good indication for finding a partner in their life. Even for some, it could be marriage. But the main idea is actually to focus more on the other person and his desires, and not to put yourself so much, you know, in the focus. And in this way, actually, you can benefit more. The South Node, on the other hand, which is in 1st house, suggests that maybe you have to give up on some of your personal plans or something that you have wanted to do only for yourself. And, you know, make some kind of compromises. 7th house, Venus, it's all about compromises. So
because of relationship, business partnerships, it's kind of also in partnerships and business relationships, rather than putting yourself out there in the spot, and sacrifice it if you want to progress and move faster to other people, and or if you don't do, the universe somehow will make you put your focus here on other people, whether you want and taking a step back yourself from you being the central figure.
Yeah, and with Jupiter in your 10th house and the North Node in 7th house, I think that the main idea here is that you can benefit and you can be more successful if you do something together with another person. Not necessarily your romantic partner or husband, it could be some business partnerships, but that's the way which can bring you more success and benefits.
Wonderful, I remember.
So, so great news actually. And finally, we have Uranus.
I just have to say something. North Node, in ancient astrology, is known that the North Node is a desire planet. It creates strong desires, and 7th house is about sexual relationships as well. So it can sometimes drive people to be a bit reckless in relationships, because in ancient astrology, North Node is a demonic desire planet. Yes, it progresses, develops on the material level, brings us things, but it can make us quite impulsive as well. Sometimes people can be drawn to foreign, very different partners. When North is in the 7th, they can be partners that kind of taboo and forbidden somehow, because Rahu has that energy of foreign element about it, or something that is kind of breaking the rules in some way as well. Just mentioning that. It's not necessarily for everyone, but Rahu has that energy. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then we have Uranus.
Yeah. Uranus will enter Taurus on the 15th of May. And then let me see. So on the 6th of November, it goes back to Aries for a while. But this is kind of, the beginning of a very important new phase for you, which will last 7 years. And those who have their sun, ascendant, another planet or cusp of a house in the first few degrees of the sign will definitely feel the influence of this transit starting from this year. And Uranus is your own ruler, so it makes the transit even more important. It squares the sign, so it's about some unexpected things happening. As usual, they could be also shocking. They could be really surprising you, and it's about making some serious personal changes. Of course, Uranus in 4th house, it symbolizes your family, the place where you are living, your home, property issues. So if you would like to make some drastic, significant changes in this area, actually this is a great time. Again, it could be, things might be difficult to be predicted, but if you're trying to resist on the changes, especially with Uranus, it could lead to some kind of, destruction and some kind of total mess in your life. So yeah, the area of family and home and the place where you're living is where you can really see these changes. Of course, when Uranus squares your own sign, it's also about personal changes.
But there is some kind of a brooding. It might not happen immediately for you 2018 unless your ascendant sun or moon is in the first 3 degrees. But over the next 2026, a big change in place of living, your family circumstances, and usually Uranus brings fast changes, and sudden change of where you live, of the family members, of relationships with members as well, with property, anything to do with such things. I'm hoping for relocation. I've been hoping for that. So Uranus hopefully will give a push. Yes, they might be surprised they might not relocate where I planned, but doesn't matter. That's exciting news for me.
Yeah, definitely a lot of changes and more freedom also. We shouldn't forget that even the stressful aspect of Uranus, they can bring, they can liberate you actually.
Yeah. Might be coming from, it's also the 4th house is emotional stuff, so you can detach and cut connections with the past and emotional things from the past as well. Anyway, yes, that's for Aquarius. Look how many things are happening. I mean, you might be fighting some fights, you'll be doing on your career so many things, and you'll be isolated at the same time. Maybe you need that isolation to process everything that's happening, to be honest. Well, thank you so much, Marina, for walking us through that. I'm so excited actually for next year. I've had a peaceful year, so time for
changes. Yeah,
absolutely. And thank you, Aquarius, for staying with us through that. Don't forget the 2018 calendar, 122 pages, 30% off till the middle of December, plus the heliacal phase webinar with Marina, which gives you 5 years of personal predictions of when planets are visible and invisible and what it means personally for you. So thank you so much and Happy New Year. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.